Timothy Savage, who is also the father to Joycelyn, after making proper observations, realized the Clary family were just another fraud and out there to make R. Kelly look bad. According to Timothy, the Claras have all along been lying on R. Kelly for monetary gain, and have caused him prison time he doesn't deserve. He says he trusted and supported Angelo back then, thinking he was the gentleman he claimed to be, but now thinks otherwise after learning of the text messages the Clary wife was exchanging back and forth with R. Kelly and Azriel, which show that they were soliciting their own daughter as opposed to R. Kelly enticing her, something the government wanted us to believe. Remember, while restructuring the RICO and Mann Act charges against Robert to suit the government's intended interpretation, they stated that R. Kelly did entice Azriel Clary to travel to California, but with the text message evidence, we learned that it was her own mother, Alice Clary, who knowingly encouraged and convinced her own daughter, suggesting that it would be a nice thing for her to use the opportunity and travel to California to be on tour with Robert, and also coached her on the things to do to make him want her. We have seen text messages that ask Azriel to get on R. Kelly's lap while singing in order to become a lot more for him. So maybe Tim Savage has a point when he says this case needs to be reviewed and this text message evidence taken into account. Whatever Angelo Clary did to Tim Savage, forgetting he had skeletons in his closet that Timothy knew about. The time to spill the beans is right here, and Timothy is not wasting any time. He is determined to speak about the injustice R. Kelly has had to deal with on account of Azriel Clary's false testimony, and her parents' influence on the case, and is so far doing a good job letting the world know what they didn't have even the slightest of ideas about. What is rather weird is that all this detail was right in front of the judge and her 12-member jury in the trial transcript, but they adamantly failed to pick it up and consider it while making the important decisions, and that's judgment and sentencing. Until today we wonder why the New York judge and jurors would ignore such important evidence, and still condemn R. Kelly for RICO and Mann Act violations on account of such inconsistent and untruthful testimonies. If even Timothy Savage, who is a co-accuser to the Clarys, can see that there is indeed a huge problem with the Clarys' way of conduct, why would the judge and jury miss it? Tim Savage's new approach to the case against R. Kelly is an indicator that there was indeed a deeply rooted conspiracy that failed to satisfy the needs of all the accusers, and is only exploding towards the appeal period because, after all, it's the only opportunity are left to get even. The Clary family managed to hide under the umbrella of government and bear false witness against a man, and it's simply time to pay the hefty price of lying under oath, and for wishing an innocent man 30 years of jail time. The text message evidence not only interferes with the integrity of the New York trial, but particularly defeats allegations of enticement and coercion. We were arguing about this before, and now we have the answer.
But right now, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and what I've know this was in the court documents, you can't falsify stuff like this. This is not something somebody made up or the government made up. These are actual records from his daughter's cell phone. So we, as people who have supported Angelo in the past, I've stood up for Angelo in the past, but these records show otherwise. And we have to hold these two people accountable at all costs for what they've did. The law is just like it is. Donald Trump is not above the law. Angelo and Alice Clary is not above the law. Period. You know what I've seen and what I've seen on this message board and what I've seen on the documents. This is wrong, bro. It's wrong in all levels, and they need to open this case back up. I'm just keeping it real because
Thank you.
at the end of the day, you know, when you are guilty of something, you're supposed to be in a court of law without a reasonable doubt. It's doubts. This shows doubts. This shows that this man is not 100% guilty. And
Thank you.
I'm standing behind what I say. From what I've seen today and what I've seen on these documents, they need to reopen this case up. Period.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, it's funny to see these people wait for when the appeal is around the corner to come out and mention such important information that could have helped the case against R. Kelly back in the days when the New York trial was still ongoing. It is believed that the Clarys were all along unhappy that their daughter had taken Kelly's side and thrown them under the bus for their extortion attempts on him. But with Azriel finally on their side, they could continue with their initial plan, which was to concoct lies in a way that would grant them leverage over the defendant and exploit him. Indeed, this plan worked, and the New York judge added them restitution slightly over $250,000, and this was on top of the money she and her father had already taken out of the Trump Towers that saw Azriel flipping. In other words, even after Azriel had revealed their initial plan, which all along was to have her take as many pictures with him as possible in case they needed to use them to blackmail him, the Bureau of Prisons chose to enable this when they leaked sensitive and restricted information to Tasha K to further convey to the Clarys. This is all the Clarys needed to make their heist at the Trump Towers successful, and to also win Azriel over to their side again, which they did. The government, together with the Bureau of Prisons and the U.S. Department of Justice, are technically being accused of aiding in a robbery and enabling blackmail, before we look into their failure to use available evidence to guide their judgment. There is just no way a charge against a defendant should hold when the witness in question is as non-authentic as Azriel Clary, and when there is just so much text message evidence that disqualifies her. In some of the past arguments, we have been mentioning how the government juggled their way towards a conviction against R. Kelly by using all means possible, including illegal methods, to achieve this. Indeed, the government has done a good job manipulating the laws to achieve results in their favor, but forgot that we are vigilant enough to see the gaps, just as Jennifer Bonjean has pointed them out in her appeal submission. However, none of us could have imagined that play a blind eye and deaf ear to such substantial available evidence could be a part of their game. It's not only surprising but also shocking that the Brooklyn federal judge and her jury had all this information to their disposal but chose to fail their own judgment by ignoring it. It's almost comparable to looking around for a murderer when you already have a confession. Common sense says. Indeed, those text messages break the case wide open. Why the judge would not allow them to be used in evidence and to affect the judgment is not just ridiculous but also horrific. A travesty of justice is an understatement. Remember, these are retraceable text messages and there is no way the government can erase them or deny their existence. I am glad Bonjean detailed them the same way as they were typed out in her appeal opening briefs, with no distortion. Reading them out is disgusting on its own, but we need them as original as Alice Clary and daughter Azriel typed them out. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.